Hello, this is the Private Investigator Experience podcast, and I'm your host, Phil Little. On this channel, I talk about the life and cases of a private investigator, and then I do deep dive investigations into issues around the world and nationally that could affect us in our own communities. I work all this work and investigation from my military, law enforcement, intelligence service, and global security background. Then I add just a touch or maybe a little bit more of my biblical worldview to come up with solutions. The news media has been full of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the tragedy that should have never happened. One of the things I've been interested in, and I've had numbers of people call me and talk to me about, they think this was a setup now. There's a government plot that somebody else really killed Charlie Kirk from the crowd, and this young man they've got was a patsy somehow. I'm not so sure how these kind of things start, but actually, apparently, there's a lot of people that think that. And as I've mentioned to some, back during the last two administrations, other than Trump's, maybe we could have imagined that because they had taken the FBI and the CIA rogue to where that they were weapons of the left and used to entangle people in crimes that they haven't even committed, like they tried to do to President Trump. But now there's a new sheriff in town. There's a new FBI director. There's a new attorney general. And this didn't happen. Let me explain to you why. The facts speak for themselves. Now, I must admit, when I saw the first photos and videos of the shooter up on the roof and walking up the stairway like he was going up to the roof and around, he didn't seem to, where's the weapon? Where's the gun? Well, then we find out that no, he wasn't there just an hour before. He was seen coming onto the university about 8 o'clock. This was 4 hours before. So he had been stalking and studying, doing his own advanced work on this meeting before. Now, I have a weapon, a Mauser, identical to what he used. Mine's a 8 millimeter, and but it's the same kind of weapon. I just don't have the scope on it. And yeah, you could stick that with a loose fitting pair of pants on. Like you could see when he was running away that he had something down his leg, and he was walking stiff-legged. I think it was on his left leg that he was favoring, and obviously he had something there. Let's look up the facts. Number one, when you look at all the video that was taken from the front, you could see the crowds. You could see all of the activity. Number one, no shot came from the audience. It was packed. If someone would have shot from the audience, they would have been seen and witnessed around them. The fact that that man claimed to have been the shooter, the old guy that was turned out to be a pedophile and had child porn on his phone and all. And apparently he'd been known to be at events claiming all kinds of things in the past. But look at the photos, look at the videos. Right after the shot, I saw the shooter rise up, run across the building towards the back, and went off the side when other photos caught him coming off the side with the weapon in down his leg, obviously. You couldn't see it, but there was something straight sticking down that leg, making him drag his leg. Now, secondly, another point of fact, that weapon that he used to shoot Charlie Kirk belonged to his grandfather. He had borrowed it from him, and he was worried about getting it back to him. His grandfather saw those clips also and said, "That's my rifle." And it was very distinctive with a scope on it. Apparently, it was an expensive scope, as the shooter had mentioned in some of his texts to his roommate lover, transgender in the process person. That 2K scope really worked great. And so when they found it, in the woods wrapped just like he said it was. And of course, it had his DNA and prints on it. And also, it was interesting. He had said in a text admitting to the roommate on Discord, which the police have copies of, that he was the shooter. He did it, but if he had been able to get his gun back, he had planned on getting away with this because he said, I've left no clues. He left them when he came off the building and were handprints. He should have been wearing gloves, but he wasn't, fortunately. So he left all kinds of evidence there that he was the shooter. So they have that. Then on top of that, when the parents saw him, they recognized him and they confronted him. The father was a retired 27-year veteran of the sheriff's department there in his county. And the shooter confessed to his parents that he was the one that shot Harvey Kirk. And they were able to facilitate his turning himself in. And then you have all these texts on Discord that he sent out to friends. And they've got volumes of people they're looking at to see if he had been communicating ahead of time what his plan were, that other people knew about it and they should have alerted the authorities. So there is fact beyond fact. This is not circumstantial. They have the weapon. They have his DNA and prints. They have the texts. He confessed to his parents. They sure wouldn't be lying for him to be set up as a patsy. His mother confirmed that over the last few years he had become a vowed leftist, pro-gay and transgender, and was repeatedly talking and involved in these leftist ideas. And it's so ironic. I'm listening to some of these Democratic left people, radical, and some of them not so radical, they're just trying to be, but they're claiming he's really a MAGA person. And the MAGA and Trump are just trying to point to the fact that he's a leftist to cover themselves. And somehow this was a MAGA plot. Come on, guys. The American people aren't dumb like you think they are. And how these senators acted and the congressmen when they wanted to have a moment of silence in the House and they erupted like a kids in a frenzy. And then when they called the FBI director in, finally, we have an FBI director that's not bought, that's not corrupt, that's not turning the FBI into a weapon for the politicians. And they are trying, listening to them, they're accusing him of the very things that Obama and Biden did with their attorney generals and the FBI directors to politicize it and make it a weapon to go after political enemies. They did all that. The facts are there. The proof is there now. It's out. And how do they realize the American people are smarter than listening to their lies? Ah, God, it's beyond me with how radical. It's just evil. You know, lying, it can become like Shift and these guys. We've run into people over the years, suspects of us doing polygraphs on. I remember one during the Olympics in Los Angeles in '84 was a security guard working out of UCLA, and some stuff came up. He was a suspect in things, and they called us in to do the some of the investigation and the polygraph, and he passed it. So I knew we couldn't figure that out because we knew he had done it. Well, it turned out he was a pathological liar. And he was able to beat the polygraph because he lied so much. He believed it. So some of these guys have been lying so much that they believe it. That's the danger. American people, let independent, wake up and check things out for yourself. Do your research. You can research. You've got so many tools. I wish we'd had all these when I started in law enforcement and then into the private sector. We didn't have any of this. We had to do shoe leather on the streets, chasing down leads and hoping to find people that would help us or stumble onto a clue that might unravel something. Today, you've got it at your fingertips. You can just go right on that computer and you can punch in names and whatever, and you can come up with all kinds of information. So check things out for yourself. Don't just be duped by your politician, no matter what party that you're in. So let's come together. And I've been amazed at how all over the world, countries had remembrances, memorials for Charlie Kirk over the weekend, and still continued. The sports teams that had moments of silence and are opening up their, I think it's Kansas City that's opening up their stadium for memorials and for people to come and view what is happening there, but also in remembrance of Charlie Kirk. So we've lost a great patriot. We've lost a great man of God. His family has lost a son. His wife has lost a husband. His children have lost a father. All because of an evil young man that got corrupted by propaganda from the left, vile hatred that shouldn't have any place in America. Let's go back to what it was like in the 80s and 90s when Democrat and Republican could sit down and talk with each other and learn from each other and walk away as friends, even though they might disagree on some policy issues. So let me know what you think. Let your voice be heard. Leave your comments on any of the platforms. You can email me at pi777 at gmail.com. So let's don't allow people to feed false information into our minds. Step out of the crowd, get involved in your local community, and I'm going to keep harping on this every time I talk to you. Get involved in your local community and run for office as necessary. Make sure your school board are teaching the right kind of things to our young people, and that your communities are and prosecutors are enforcing the law, that there's no case that was bail, that criminals are put back out on the street, all these things that are detriment to your safety in your community. Would you help me by liking, sharing, subscribing? You know the drill. Hit that notification bell for future posts. I've seen America with the back to the wall. I believe we've seen something here that could unleash an uprising in our country with just what I've seen with the response of people coming out of the woodwork. I've been watching over the weekend that all the people that went back to church, and some had never been there, but they decided things have gone far enough. Church is full to overflowing, and people questioning, like, where are we at? I believe this event for evil could turn into turning on these leftists and evil people that have slaughtered, in this case, a real patriot young man that was bringing healing between people of different beliefs. And he was listening to them with respect and treating them with respect. I believe this event, I'm reminded of what God says in the Bible. What the devil means for evil, God can turn and make good out of it. And I believe just as after 9/11, people came together, America rose up, and as a as a body said, this is enough. We've got to stop this violence and evil. Unfortunately, it didn't last that long, but I believe this time it's going to be different. We're going to see this tragedy turn into something good. Remember, pray for Erica and those children and the parents and on both sides and all their siblings and members of their family and those at Turning Point USA. Contact them. I've contacted them and I ask how I can be involved, and I'm getting information and getting involved, which I never had before because it was more of a young people, I thought, in college. And I found there's other ways that we can all be involved. So get involved. God bless you and your family. May God bless America. Be safe until next time.